All right, hello class. I am doing a new book for this week. Sorry I can't be there in person to read it to you, but we'll look forward to the time when we can. So I'm sticking with our spring theme, you could say, a new season of spring where things are popping out of the ground and we have new flowers and the trees are getting filled out with leaves, right? And we read last week Up in the Garden, Down in the Dirt. And this week we have another book that has to do with growing things. That's not all it has to do with, but we'll find out. So if you can see on here, what do you notice in this picture? We see an older woman here. You can see she has gray hair, so I'm guessing she's a bit older, right? And then there's all these beautiful flowers. And those flowers are called lupines. And they grow mostly in the northern part of America. We don't see them here, but they're beautiful flowers. And then in the background, we can see there's water all around and a house way back there. And so then I'd encourage you actually as I read the book to look out. I mean, I call this a very beautiful picture. And I'd say as I'm reading the story, look out for where you see beauty in this book. But, well then, before I move on, we need to find out what's the name, what do we call the name of the book is the title. So the title of this book is Miss Rumphius, right? And what do we call the person who writes the story? The author, right? And the person who does the drawings, the illustrator. So for this book, it's the same person. So that would be her name. The story and pictures are by Barbara Cooney. Just like, you know, Beatrix Potter, who did The Tale of Peter Rabbit, she was both the author and the illustrator. There's not a lot of people who do that, but you've got to have a lot of skill to do that. So this is our cover, spine, back. All right, Miss Rumphius. Ooh, more beautiful lupines there. It's lovely. Okay, here we go. The lupine lady lives in a small house overlooking the sea. In between the rocks and her house grow blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. The lupine lady is little and old, but she has not always been that way. I know. She is my great aunt, and she told me so. Once upon a time, she was a little girl named Alice, who lived in a city by the sea. From the front stoop, and that's what you see here, right? It's actually right in front of the door. We call it the stoop that leads up to the house there. From the stoop, she could see the wharves and the bristling masts of tall ships. So the wharves are where ships would dock, and that's where they would unload and their things, and the people would get on and off there, right? And many years ago, her grandfather had come to America on a large sailing ship, just like probably one of those. So they're in America too, like we are. Now he worked in the shop at the bottom of the house, making figureheads for the prows of ships and carving Indians out of wood to put in front of cigar stores. So that's what these little statues are here. Those are things that he has made, and they put them, the prow of the ship is kind of the front part of the ship there. Put those on there, and you can see the Indians that he made in the back. For Alice's grandfather was an artist. He painted pictures, too, of sailing ships and places across the sea. When he was very busy, Alice helped him put in the skies. Well, she must be an artist, too. In the evening, Alice sat on her grandfather's knee and listened to stories of faraway places. When he had finished, Alice would say, "When I grow up, I too will go to faraway places, and when I grow old, I too will live beside the sea." "That is very well, little Alice," said her grandfather. "But there is a third thing you must do." "What is that?" asked Alice. "You must do something to make the world more beautiful," said her grandfather. "All right," said Alice, but she did not know what that could be. In the meantime, Alice got up and washed her face and ate porridge for breakfast. She went to school and came home and did her homework, and pretty soon she was grown up. Then my great aunt Alice set out to do the 3 things she had told her grandfather she was going to do. She left home and went to live in another city far from the sea and the salt air. There she worked in a library, dusting books and keeping them from getting mixed up, and helping people find the ones they wanted. Some of the books told her about faraway places, just like some of our books do, right? People called her Miss Rumphius now. Sometimes she went to the conservatory in the middle of the park. So that's this building here and the one that she's inside there. So conservatories are these big glass buildings. So glass on the walls and the ceilings. And inside of it, they can control the temperature, so how warm and cold it is, and how wet it is, we say humidity. And that allows them to, like, people can grow plants all year round inside of these conservatories, these buildings. And that otherwise you couldn't have, when it's snowing outside like in this, there's no way it could survive outside, but inside of here they can make them grow. So when she stepped inside on a wintry day, the warm, moist air wrapped itself around her, and the sweet smell of jasmine filled her nose. Jasmine's a plant that has a beautiful flower and it's wonderful fragrance that comes out of it. This is almost like a tropical isle, said Miss Rumphius, but not quite. So Miss Rumphius went to a real tropical island where people kept cockatoos and monkeys as pets. Oh, so here's a cockatoo actually, so it's like a parrot, right? And then some of the monkeys, so they have a lot of them there so they can keep them as pets. That'd be fun to have. That'd be a little crazy to have around here. But, so this is the so she's on a tropical island. So remember, an island is a small piece of land that's just surrounded by it's just surrounded by water, right? And when we're saying it's tropical, it's a place where it's warm, it's pretty much actually hot all year round. Whereas, here it can be really hot during the summer, but then it gets cold in the winter. There, it's pretty much warm all year round. And they're often very beautiful places. And I think Miss Lori's going to show you more about them. So she walked on long beaches, picking up beautiful shells. One day, she met the Baba Raja, king of a fishing village. "You must be tired," he said. "Come into my house and rest." So Miss Rumphius went in and met the Baba Raja's wife. The Baba Raja himself fetched a green coconut and cut a slice off the top so that Miss Rumphius could drink the coconut water inside. You've done that before too with Miss Lori. Before she left, the Baba Raja gave her a beautiful mother-of-pearl shell on which he had painted a bird of paradise and the words, "You will always remain in my heart." Miss Lori's going to teach you more about the birds of paradise too. They're these beautiful birds, like nothing you've seen. And she responded, "So you will always remain in mine too," said Miss Rumphius. My great aunt, Miss Alice Rumphius, climbed tall mountains where the snow never melted. So clearly that's not on a tropical island anymore. It is not going to be warm there. If the snow never melts, it's got to be a very cold place. That's someplace else she went. She went through jungles and across deserts. She saw lions playing and kangaroos jumping. And everywhere she made friends she would never forget. Finally, she came to the land of the lotus eaters. And there, getting off a camel, she hurt her back. "What a foolish thing to do," said Miss Rumphius. "Well, I have certainly seen faraway places. Maybe it's time to find my place by the sea." And it was, and she did. From the porch of her new house, Miss Rumphius watched the sun come up. She watched it cross the heavens and sparkle on the water, and she saw it set in glory in the evening. She started a little garden among the rocks that surrounded her house, and she planted a few flower seeds in the stony ground. Miss Rumphius was almost perfectly happy. "But there is still one more thing I have to do," she said. Remember what that one more thing she had left to do? "I have to do something to make the world more beautiful." But what? The world already is pretty nice, she thought, looking out over the ocean. Well, that is pretty beautiful. And what season do you think she's in here? If there's not many leaves on trees and it's kind of brown, think about what season that might be. The next spring, Miss Rumphius was not very well. Her back was bothering her again, and she had to stay in bed most of the time. The flowers she had planted the summer before had come up and bloomed in spite of the stony ground. She could see them from her bedroom window, blue and purple and rose-colored. "Lupines," said Miss Rumphius with satisfaction. "I've always loved lupines the best. I wish I could plant more seeds this summer so that I could have still more flowers next year." But she was not able to do so. And why wasn't she able to do so? What was going on here? Yeah, she's hurt her back, right? And she's having to stay in bed. After hard winter, spring came. Miss Rumphius was feeling much better. Now she could take walks again. One afternoon she started to go up and over the hill where she had not been in a long time. "I don't believe my eyes," she cried when she got to the top. For there on the other side of the hill was a large patch of blue and purple and rose-colored lupines. It was the wind, she said as she knelt in delight. It was the wind that brought the seeds from my garden here, and the birds must have helped. I don't know if you remember when we read the tiny seed, and that seed that traveled all around, and like the wind blew at different places, right? That's what probably happened here. Then Miss Rumphius had a wonderful idea. She hurried home and got out her seed catalogs. Seed catalogs are kind of like, you have clothing magazines, so this is like a seed magazine where people go and buy seeds from. So she sent off to the very best seed house for 5 bushels of lupine seed. All that summer, Miss Rumphius, her pockets full of seeds, wandered over fields and headlands sowing lupines. She scattered seeds along the highways and down the country lanes. She flung handfuls of them around the schoolhouse and back of the church. She tossed them into hollows and along stone walls. Her back didn't hurt her anymore at all. Now some people called her that crazy old lady. Now why do you think they'd call her that? What would you think if you saw someone just starting to scatter seeds all around the neighborhood? You think it's kind of different? Maybe that's why they called her crazy. The next spring, there were lupines everywhere. Well, and what is that from? She had thrown all those seeds all around. Fields and hillsides were covered with blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. They bloomed along the highways and down the lanes. Bright patches lay around the schoolhouse and back of the church. Down in the hollows and along the stone walls grew the beautiful flowers. Miss Rumphius had done the third, the most difficult thing of all. And what was that again? Let's see here. My great-aunt Alice, Miss Rumphius, is very old now. Her hair is very white. Every year there are more and more lupines. Now they call her the Lupine Lady. Sometimes my friends stand with me outside her gate, curious to see the old lady who planted the fields of lupines. When she invited us in, they come slowly. They think she's the oldest woman in the world. Often she tells us stories of faraway places. When I grow up, I tell her, I too will go to faraway places and come home to live by the sea. That is very well, little Alice, says my aunt. But there is a third thing you must do. What is that? I ask. Oh, what do you think she's going to say? Yeah. You must do something to make the world more beautiful. All right, I say. But I do not know yet what that could be. Maybe you too can think about what could you do to make the world more beautiful. See you next time.